But before we get to that, I am recording this on Tuesday morning, right after Giannis gets traded to the Miami Heat. Look, we've been talking about this for months now. The speculation, the rumors were going crazy. And finally, we got the deal done. 10 minutes before midnight Eastern time, the deal gets announced there. Giannis to the Heat. Full details of the trade. The Heat get Giannis and Bobby Portis. They absorb Bobby Portis into a trade exception that they had created by trading Duncan Robinson to Detroit last season. That's going to hard cap the Heat there at the first apron. The Heat send Milwaukee Tyler Herro, Kel'el Ware, Jaime Jaquez Jr., Kasparas Jakucionis, and 3 first-round picks if you include the 13th pick in tonight's draft, and then a picks in 2031, 2033, and they also have a pick swap in 2030, and then a future second-round pick. So these were the terms of the deal, and I'm going to just jump right into my winners and losers of this trade. And right away, the clear winner, the Miami Heat. They get Giannis. You get the best player in the draft. Later on this week with Mike Shearer, I'm going to talk about we're going to do our power rankings of the top 20 players in the league going into next season. I still have Giannis top 5. And I had him there before he got traded to my hometown Miami Heat. I understand it wasn't a great year for him. 36 games played. I get it. But he probably could have played more if the Bucks had not given up on their season. It was a weird year for him. And when he was out there, and I remind people of this all the time, December, January, this guy was still playing at an MVP level. Look at the NBA.com MVP ladder, all these things. That Giannis was very much a part of that while the season still mattered for Milwaukee. And because he had lifted the Bucks to a decent enough record, they weren't very good, but they were going to be able to compete for a play-in or a playoff spot before they really just went the other way on their season. So I still think Giannis is a top 5 guy. He shot over 62% from the field last year. A couple, like his mid-range shot just wasn't really the same, wasn't going in as much as it was 2 years ago, but he has developed over the last few years a decent mid-range shot. He has really given up on the 3, which I'm fine with. But if he's got like that little mid-range jumper, getting to the rim at the way that he does, defensively he has slid a little bit, but also the Bucks overall have slid defensively. The same infrastructure that was around Giannis when they won the championship a few years ago, with Drew Holiday at the point of attack, Brook Lopez in his prime, defending the rim as a drop center defender, having Chris Middleton on the wing, like all these great defenders, those guys were either aged out or traded away for various parts, right? You replace essentially Chris Middleton and Drew Holiday with Damian Lillard and Kyle Kuzma over the last couple of years. Yeah, you're not going to be as good defensively. Brook Lopez aged out. So I think with a better infrastructure, which Miami certainly has, we could talk about what the Heat's roster looks like and whether or not they're a contender. There's no question that this is going to be an elite defense. You've got Giannis and Bam Adebayo. Find me a better front court defensively in the league, right? If you want to just say Victor Wembanyama and San Antonio because Victor Wembanyama's there, fine, okay. But as a duo, there's nobody better defensively than Bam and Giannis. Plus, you've got Davion Mitchell still there. They're going to try to retain Andrew Wiggins here. We'll see what happens with that. And you got Eric Spoelstra. And one thing, if you're going Miami, like Eric Spoelstra's always just going to get a little bit more out of you defensively than most coaches do. And you talk to players who have come through that Heat organization, and they're like, we're doing defensive drills in October. Like way before anybody else is doing this stuff. If you stop by the facility in the summer to just work on your game and a coach is there, they're going to run you through defensive drills. They're just going to, that's just the way that organization operates. I think defensively he'll be right back to where he was. Maybe not like defensive player of the year, but where he was at, right, at almost his most elite level. So I think in getting Giannis, you're getting a really great player. Now you're going to have to sign him to this extension when we get into July. Probably the last year or two of that extension, going to be a little rough. But you make this trade understanding that and realizing, okay, we've been a play-in team for 4 years in a row, didn't even make the playoffs last year. We had to shake things up. And now we have a top 5 player in the NBA, a legitimate MVP candidate, the best player that's been through here since LeBron left in 2014. We had to make this move, and now we're relevant again. And looking at that roster, I think people keep calling it Milwaukee South. I do not see it that way. Maybe that's not surprising. But, Bam is a better teammate than Giannis has had in a long time. And now you're moving Bam into a secondary role. He's also, by the way, another big winner in this trade. I'm not going to do a big thing on Bam, but the fact that now he's not going to be asked to score 30 points per game because Giannis is just going to go out and do that. Now Bam can just do what he's great at, which is play defense, be a complimentary role player offensively, rebound, pass the ball around, and just kind of be the culture guy there. Great fit for Bam. I think the reputation around Bam is going to flip this next season. We're going to look at him as maybe one of the better number 2 options in the league. I think that's my prediction for Bam this year. Big winner there. But you got Giannis, you got Bam. Try to retain Wiggins. We'll see if they're going to be able to bring back Norman Powell. Wiggins can either opt out and sign at a lower dollar figure. Maybe they find a place to salary dump Nikola Jovic and his $16 million, and that gives them a little bit more wiggle room. Right now, there's just not a lot of space between where they are now and that first apron that they're going to be hard capped at. But they're going to try to bring back Powell, and if not, they have the mid-level exception that they can use $15 million. If Powell walks away, you can use most or all of that, depending on some of these other things that happen. And there's some decent players out there. It looks like Ayo Dosunmu is going to go back to Minnesota after they salary dump Julius Randle, but Powell's really good, but can you replace him with a cheaper like Anthony Simons or a Colin Sexton or something like that? That could make some sense to me. Miami is going to go out and find some shooters, but right now you got Davion Mitchell, Andrew Wiggins, Bam Adebayo, and Giannis. That's the backbone of an elite defense and like a grinded out type of team that Eric Spoelstra is going to want to coach. And that's my next big winner is Eric Spoelstra here. This guy has had to coach and make the most out of these teams for such a long time that just were so deficient in talent compared to the rest of the teams in the Eastern Conference. And I'm including the Jimmy Butler era only because Jimmy Butler during the regular season wasn't playoff Jimmy, right? Those are two different Jimmy Butlers. Look at Jimmy's stats during the regular season during his time in Miami the last few years. He was Tobias Harris. Tobias Harris stats in the regular season. Michael Jordan in the playoffs sometimes. Eric Spoelstra is going to have and it's great. And by the way, I don't even like Jimmy was great for the Heat. When he needed to be great, he was great. He was just a different kind of player than Giannis, right? He wasn't this physical freak. Like Jimmy Butler was a basketball IQ guy, really strong, athletic in his own way. But Giannis is the most gifted physical athlete the Heat have had since they got LeBron. And Eric Spoelstra coached LeBron, and I thought did a really great job coaching that team, the inverted offense, pace and space, all that stuff that really was a big part of laying the foundation for what the NBA has become over the last decade and a half. They were kind of at the forefront of that. It was the Phoenix Suns, and then I would say it was the Phoenix Suns with the 6 seconds or less with Steve Nash and Stoudemire in that group. And then you had the Heat with the big 3. After that first year, figuring out playing Bosh at the 5, that inverted offense, pace and space, all that stuff. And then you obviously had the Warriors going small with Draymond at the 5, and that kind of really pushed us into the Houston Rockets and Morey Ball and everything like that. But the Heat are very much part of that timeline, that evolutionary chain, I would say. But that was a very young Eric Spoelstra. This is a much older, more experienced, better, smarter Eric Spoelstra who has not had this kind of tool in his tool shed in a really long time. I am really excited to see what Spo draws up for Giannis because he's been thinking about it. What can we do with a guy like Giannis? They might have been thinking about this in February when they thought that they were close to getting Giannis. So the Heat ran that up-tempo system, no ball screen system. I think Giannis fits great in that kind of system. I'd be very interested to see if that's what they continue to do here. But Spo, obviously a big winner now because he gets to – this is a great toy to play with now in Giannis.